Hello and welcome. Today we're talking about the cryptically named, what is something that is extremely effective for you as a leader that you maybe learned in first grade. So what I'm talking about is the naming of emotions. Somehow this skill may be more important than many of the others you've learned. Let me make the case for you for why this skill is so important, and then let me show you in visual and in auditory ways how it could be even more important than you might think. Why is being able to name your emotions, yours, and other people's emotions so critical? What's the thing that most brings you high highs of happiness and low lows of non-happiness? It's usually really good relationships and really not good relationships, or what happens in really good and in really not good relationships. And those things, we stay on them, we ruminate on them, all of that happens a lot. And one way to possibly mitigate that, to possibly mitigate the not great relationships being not great, is to be able to name emotions. Now, you might think this is super basic, and I will tell you why I think you might think that, because I thought that. I went to a leadership coaching training about 3 years ago, and one of the most important things they told us is, hey, a leader knows how to name his emotions, his or her emotions. Let me just check that you can hear me and see me and everything is good. Yes, I think you're in. I'm going to make it better. There you go. I think you can hear me and see me better now. Thank you for noting that for me. So I went to this leadership coaching training course, and one of the first things they told us is, hey, everybody stand around in a circle and let's talk about what is it that we can name about our emotion in the moment. And at first I thought, really, that's the most important thing that we can do as we start? Yes, in some ways it is. And I'm here to make that case that it is. First part of the case, we are often not really aware. We're not aware of the emotion we have. We're not aware of the emotion somebody else has. Second, we often just label it with something really, in a sense, boring. You may have heard this description of emotions: mad, sad, glad, and scared. Those have at some point been considered 4 primary emotions. Now, Paul Ekman showed that there's actually a range of emotions beyond that, and within each of those categories, there's a huge range. But often, if you ask someone, how are you? The answers are going to be stressed, angry, happy. Those are very mad, sad, glad, and scared answers. And if you're doing that, you may be numbing the actual thing that's going on. Now, why is that so terrible? Why am I making a case that that's so important? It's so critical. It's such an important leadership skill. Because when you numb it in yourself, you start to know yourself a little bit less and maybe even trust yourself a little bit less. And when you numb your understanding in others, you just may not see the nuance. Now, let me give you some visual examples like I said I would. So let me share the screen with you. Let me share it a bigger. All right, there is a researcher named Susan David who has written an article in a HBR, Harvard Business Review, called 3 Ways to Better Understand Your Emotions. That's in 2016. One of the things in this article, I'm just scrolling down to the middle part of the article, is a list of emotions. So just look at these. They're so much more varied. And it's not only that you need to have varied emotions for the dark emotions, for angry, sad, or anxious. There's actually a lot that you can do with so-called happy emotions as well. I'll just give you one thing. As I Googled, I found there's so many. I mean, look at some of these: jubilant, radiant, cherished, opulent, harmonious, just things that we wouldn't say if we're thinking about things in daily life from day to day. So let me leave this on the screen. This is a list of 51 emotions from a website by annsilvers.com. And for these emotions, let me play you a small snippet of music, and then let me know which of these you felt. It's not all going to be happy. It's not all going to be calm. But for the small snippet of music, tell me which of these is in your feeling, not in your mind, but in your feeling. Who am I playing for you today? I am playing Julie Sevilla Fraise. She is from France. I really enjoy following her as a cellist. This is something she posted on LinkedIn the day before her 32nd birthday, a few days ago. And here she is with this piece. Enjoy. And I'm going to put up the screen with the emotion. So tell me which emotion this makes you feel. All right. Talk to me. Let me know. Of those, I'll put them back up. Of those that we were talking about, what does that conjure up in you? And again, I'm just trying to make us go a little bit away from these. So did that make you feel reassured? Did it make you feel trusted or trusting? What else do you feel other than calm or good? And as I see what you actually say in response to, as I mentioned before, in response to this music, in response to that, as I see what you say to that, let me also say that this is something that develops over time. What we feel and how we name what we feel develops over time. You did have this skill when you were in kindergarten, when you were in first grade. And the reason I keep referring to first grade is that's when teachers and parents asked you, hey, how do you feel? You fell down, you got hurt. How do you feel? I feel sad. But another question, and this will be the last idea that I leave you with today, another question you can ask somebody when they say, I feel sad, or I feel stressed, or the little kid who falls down and feels sad. What else do you feel? I feel proud that I climbed that whole rope swing. I feel a little scared that I climbed that whole rope swing. What else do you feel when you're feeling stressed? What else do you feel when you're feeling exhilarated? And once you start unweeding them, tangling them out, what else can you observe about yourself? Thanks for joining us. Today has been about the one leadership skill that you learned in first grade that may still be useful for you today. We look forward to joining you the rest of this week. We'll be here every day, Monday to Friday, 11 a.m. Pacific. All the best. See you soon.